There is something millions of people do regularly, something most will never talk about openly. Not with their friends, not with their partners, not even with their doctors. Now imagine someone asked you about it in front of your family. Would you answer honestly? Probably not. And that silence, that automatic refusal, says more about the psychology of this topic than anything else. Because research shows this is one of the most common human behaviors on the planet, and yet it is one of the least honestly discussed. Today we are going to change that, not to shame anyone, not to judge anyone, but to understand the real psychology behind it. Because most of what people believe about this topic is either a myth, a misunderstanding, or a half-truth. And understanding the truth is always the first step toward making better choices. So if you have ever wondered why people do this, why some people cannot seem to stop, what it actually does to the brain, and what psychology and science really say about it, stay with me, because this video is going to go deeper than anything you have heard on this topic before. Let's start with the question most people are secretly wondering. Is this normal? The honest answer is yes. Research shows that approximately 74% of American men report masturbating regularly, and approximately 48% of American women report the same. Among younger adults between the ages of 18 and 29, the numbers climb even higher. Nearly 80% of men in that age group, close to 60% of women. Here is what is striking. It is not just how common it is how much more common it is than people assume. Most people genuinely believe they are in the minority. They think everyone else has this figured out. They don't. You are not the exception. You are the rule. So if it is this common, why does almost nobody talk about it? Think about this for a moment. You probably knew about this behavior before anyone ever explained it to you. You figured it out on your own, and then you figured out very quickly that you were not supposed to talk about it. That is not an accident. From a very young age, most people receive clear messages from family, from religion, from culture. The message is almost always the same. This is private. This is something you do not discuss, and so millions of people carry this in complete silence. Not because they are weak, not because they are broken, but because the world taught them that this part of themselves was too shameful to bring into the light. And shame does not make a behavior disappear. It just drives it underground, where it becomes harder to understand and harder to change. Now let's talk about a real person. We will call him Marcus, 26 years old. Good job, good friends. From the outside, everything looks fine, but Marcus has been dealing with a private habit since he was a teenager. He has never told anyone. He tries to stop every few months. He manages for a week or two, and then one stressful evening at home alone, the cycle starts again. Marcus is not unusual. Marcus is millions of people. Maybe Marcus is you. So why does this happen? Why do people actually do this? The first layer is biological. The human body is wired for sexual response. That is not a moral statement. That is biology. Hormones like testosterone, present in both men and women, drive sexual urges naturally and persistently. The second layer is emotional. Stress, anxiety, boredom, loneliness. When a person is overwhelmed or emotionally drained, the brain searches for the fastest accessible relief it can find, and this behavior delivers that relief quickly, reliably, and privately. No effort required, no other person needed, no explanation necessary. The third layer is the brain itself, and this is where things get serious. Every time a person engages in this behavior, the brain releases dopamine. Dopamine is the brain's primary reward signal, the same chemical released when you eat something you love, when you win something, when you achieve a goal you worked hard for. But sexual stimulation releases dopamine at a significantly higher level than almost any everyday activity, and the brain notices. It files the experience. It says, "This felt good. Do it again." This is the reward loop, and over time it becomes automatic. A specific time of day, a specific emotional state, being alone, being bored, being stressed. These become cues, and the cues begin firing on their own before the conscious mind has even made a decision. The habit loop has already started running. This is conditioning, and conditioning does not care about your intentions. It only cares about repetition.
Now let's talk about the myths, because there is so much misinformation on this topic that it is worth slowing down and being honest. Myth 1. It causes physical weakness. Here is the scenario. A young man reads online that this behavior drains his energy, weakens his body, and destroys his focus. He panics. He starts obsessively tracking his energy levels. He blames every bad day on this habit. Here is the truth. There is no credible scientific evidence that moderate behavior causes physical weakness or illness. The anxiety around the myth often causes more harm than the behavior itself. Myth 2. It is always harmless. Here is the other extreme. Someone tells themselves it is completely natural, totally fine, and has zero consequences, so they never examine it, never question it, never notice when it quietly starts affecting their real relationships. Here is the truth. For most people in moderate amounts, the behavior does not cause significant physical harm. But research does show that excessive engagement, particularly combined with pornography, can affect motivation, emotional regulation, relationship satisfaction, and real intimacy. Saying it is always harmless is just as inaccurate as saying it is always dangerous. Myth 3. Only lonely or isolated people do this. Here is the scenario. A man in a committed relationship, happy at home, good intimacy with his partner, still engages in this behavior privately and regularly. Here is the truth. The statistics cover every demographic, every income level, every relationship status, every age group. This is a human behavior, not a profile. Now here is the section most people need to hear, and the one most videos skip over. When does this actually become a problem? Meet someone we will call Daniel, 32 years old, in a relationship for 4 years. His partner has started noticing something. Daniel does not seem interested in physical intimacy the way he used to be. He is present but disconnected. When they are together, something feels absent. What his partner does not know is that Daniel has been engaging in this behavior daily, sometimes more, for years. He has conditioned his brain to a very specific kind of stimulation, and real intimacy, with all its imperfections and vulnerability, no longer delivers the same dopamine response. Daniel does not want this. He did not plan this. But this is what chronic, unexamined behavior does over time. It rewires what feels rewarding. It raises the threshold for satisfaction, and it quietly creates a gap between the person in front of you and the stimulation your brain has been trained to expect. Here are the honest signs that this has moved beyond a habit. You have tried to stop or reduce it and failed repeatedly. It is the first thing you reach for when you feel any emotional discomfort. Your interest in real intimacy with a real partner has decreased. You feel guilt or shame after, but that does not stop the cycle. Your productivity, focus, or daily functioning is being affected. You are spending significant time on it, time you know could go somewhere that actually matters to you. If any of those feel familiar, that is not a verdict on your character. That is information, and information is always the beginning of change. So what actually helps? Not willpower alone. Research is consistent on this. Willpower without strategy fails, every time. Step 1. Know your triggers. The urge does not arrive randomly. There is a specific time of day, a specific emotional state, a specific environment, alone at night, after a stressful event, when boredom hits with no plan. Triggers are specific, and specific things can be addressed. Start by simply noticing. Write it down if you need to. When did the urge hit? What was happening right before? What were you feeling? Awareness is not recovery, but you cannot change what you have not yet seen clearly. Step 2. Replace the routine, not just remove it. The brain needs something to do with the cue. You cannot create a vacuum and expect it to hold. Research on habit replacement shows that the most effective substitution responses share one quality. They must be immediately accessible and physically engaging. A 10-minute walk the moment the urge appears. A cold shower, not as punishment but as a genuine pattern interrupt. Picking up your phone and calling someone you actually want to talk to. These work not because they are pleasant. They work because they engage the body and brain fast enough to break the automatic loop before it completes. Step 3. Understand the urge before you obey it. Research on urge surfing, a technique from acceptance and commitment therapy, shows that urges are not permanent commands. They rise, they peak, and if you do not act on them, they fall. Most urges peak within 15 to 20 minutes. Those minutes will not be comfortable, but they are survivable. And every time you survive one without acting on it, you weaken the loop slightly, not dramatically, slightly. That is how real change works. Step 4. Build a life the habit has less room in. This is where most advice gets generic. So let me be specific. The brain that is chronically underslept is a brain with almost no capacity to resist ingrained reward loops. Sleep is not optional maintenance. It is your primary defense system. The brain that exercises regularly has a genuine alternative dopamine source, not a metaphor, a real neurochemical substitute that reduces the pull of compulsive behavior over time. The brain that has real human connection, not scrolling, not texting, but actual presence with people, has less need to use behavior as an emotional substitute. And the brain that has something it is genuinely building, a goal, a skill, something that produces real satisfaction over time, has a reason to protect its own focus and energy. These are not lifestyle suggestions. They are the architecture of a brain that is simply less available to be hijacked by old habits. Now let me speak directly to you. If you have been struggling with this privately for a long time, if you have tried to stop and found it harder than you expected, if you have started to notice it affecting your relationships, your focus, your sense of self, I want you to know something first. You are not the only one. The silence around this topic makes people feel isolated in a way that makes the habit harder to break, because shame and secrecy are two of the most powerful forces that keep compulsive patterns in place. Breaking this cycle in real life, not in theory, not in a motivational video, but in the actual moments when the urge hits and nobody is watching, is genuinely hard, and it deserves more than a list of tips. That is why I want to point you to something that goes deeper. It is called Quit Porn and Masturbation Now, Before It Destroys You. It goes through the specific habits, the thinking patterns, and the daily behaviors that quietly keep people stuck in this cycle long after they have decided they want out. Not to shame anyone, but to give you the clearest possible picture of what is happening and the most practical path towards something different. If you are serious about breaking this pattern, that book is your next step. The link is in the description. Here is what I want to leave you with. You watched this video today, maybe out of curiosity, maybe because something in the title felt uncomfortably relevant, maybe because you looked at it today, and that matters. Not because watching a video changes anything by itself, but because the decision to understand yourself, to look honestly at something most people spend their whole lives avoiding, that is not nothing. That is the beginning of being in control of your own mind and your own life. If this video gave you something real, subscribe. This channel exists for people who want to understand themselves deeply and build something better from that understanding. Leave a comment below. You do not have to share anything personal. Just tell me, did this video change how you think about this topic? I read every single comment, and I want to hear from you.